Namaste, friends. Today we start learning about Ashtavakra Gita. I'm sure that many of you have read this great scripture, and some of you may also be reading it very regularly. Ashtavakra Gita is a conversation between Ashtavakra, a great realized saint, and King Janak, a philosopher but a king, famous for his lack of body consciousness, videhapanu. When Osho talks about Ashtavakra Gita, he says, man has many scriptures. If we look at the world today, there must be thousands of scriptures. But he says, there are none comparable to the Gita of Ashtavakra. We know in Hinduism, the Vedas are considered to be the crown of all scriptures. But Osho says, before Ashtavakra Gita, the Vedas pale. At the end of the Vedic period came the Upanishadic period. That is the period which was more on the truth, on philosophy. Vedic period was a lot of rituals. But Osho says when we compare the Upanishads to Ashtavakra Gita, Upanishads speak but with a weak voice. He then tells us even the Bhagavad Gita does not have the majesty found in Ashtavakra Samhita. Ashtavakra Gita is simply unparalleled. The most important thing is neither society nor politics nor any institution of human life has had any influence on the sayings of Ashtavakra. They are a pure expression, transcending emotion, transcending time and death. There is nothing comparable. Perhaps this is why Ashtavakra's Gita, the great Ashtavakra Samhita, has not had much impact. Ashtavakra's message is crystal clear. We won't be able to add even a small bit of our own interpretation to it. Hence, people have not written commentaries on Ashtavakra Gita. There is no scope for writing a commentary. There is no way to distort or twist it. Our minds have no chance to add anything. While when we look at Bhagavad Gita, it has led itself to several interpretations, and its meanings have been twisted and distorted by many commentators, both ancient and modern. Ashtavakra Gita is so simple and emphatically direct that it is impossible to misinterpret the text, and very few have ventured to translate it and add any commentaries. There are 298 stanzas. Almost each of them is an independent, self-sufficient capsule capable of taking one to the ultimate destination by itself. Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans, who was desirous that his pupil Naren, meaning Swami Vivekananda, should go through Ashtavakra Gita. But Naren stubbornly resisted it. So Sri Ramakrishna resorted to a ruse by requesting Naren to read the book aloud to him whenever he was having oil massage. Finally, Vivekananda Swami became mad after this book. So what does Ashtavakra talk about? First of all, in the aspirants who want to be self-realized, he says there is no prerequisite. He doesn't talk about any prerequisites whatsoever. He does not talk about any rituals, no control of breath, meaning no pranayam, no control of thoughts, He does not talk about japa or chanting of sacred syllables, not even any meditation or contemplation. Ashtavakra does not lay down any precondition or prior qualification for someone to tread on the spiritual path to become enlightened. He accepts anyone on a as is, where is basis. There is no cultivation of any particular qualities, nor any renunciation of existing conditioning. It is all about just being and no becoming. I repeat, it is just about being and no becoming. The entire process is revolutionary and contradictory to all accepted norms of traditional sadhana. While most scriptures lead one to the goal of liberation progressively, like going from KG to PhD, Ashtavakra Gita propels you direct to the ultimate destination without the need of any steps. So what is the connection between Ashtavakra and Janak? There are several stories, current, and some of them are found in the Mahabharata. Ashtavakra, while in the womb of his mother, was well versed in the scriptures, the Vedas, and one day criticized, humbly though, from the womb, the bad pronunciations of his father, Kahoda, who used to recite the Vedas daily. His father was a renowned scholar, but he got infuriated by the audacity of the unborn son and cursed him to be born with eightfold deformity. And that is why eightfold Ashtavakra. Then we think about Janak. Janak was a king, fully engaged in the activities of the kingdom, yet he was a great philosopher. He wanted to know the truth. One day he was sitting in his court in the kingdom in the evening, and obviously the people around him were talking about various reports and problems, and the discussion became a little boring. So he actually started dozing off. He dozed off for a few minutes. He may have snored. And then he started dreaming. In the dream, he saw that the whole kingdom was flooded. There was famine in other parts. And everything was lost. Grains, fields, cattle, everything was lost. He had now become a very poor man. In the dream, he found himself roaming from street to street, so hungry that he wanted a piece of chapati. He asked everyone, but nobody actually had any food. Finally, someone gave him a dry piece of chapati. He took it. However, in those days, it was a rule that a householder would, before eating, if there was someone else, they would offer it to this other person. And as he could not eat the chapati by himself, he actually went away to find a quiet place where there would not be anyone else and he could eat the roti. So when he was about to eat the roti, an eagle came and took the roti away. He was quite shocked, and then he shouted, "Ha!" When he shouted, he actually woke up. When he woke up, he saw that everyone was sitting in his court. People, the whole court was full, yet he was still hungry. It was probably dinner time. And he got very confused. He said, what is true? The dream state where he's become very poor and he was begging, or is this, him being a king What is true? Which is the true state? Janak, being someone who wanted to know the truth, was surrounded by a lot of scholars. He actually asked all the scholars which state is true. Yet none of them could satisfy his quest for the truth. Therefore, then he asked, can we call a gnani, someone who is realized? Can we call someone? And I want to ask this question. So some of the philosophers sitting in his court said, there is a gnani, Ashtavakra. Why don't we call him? So Ashtavakra was invited to Janak's palace. Ashtavakra, who had become enlightened by the time he was only 12 years old, walked into the court of King Janak, who was discussing philosophy with many renowned philosophers, scholars, and saints. As soon as Ashtavakra entered Janak's court, the entire assembly, including the king, burst into laughter because Janak was deformed. 8 parts of his body were deformed. Everybody was laughing. And then Ashtavakra laughed the loudest. Everybody was very surprised. The whole court was laughing at Ashtavakra. How can Ashtavakra laugh? So they asked Ashtavakra, we are laughing because of your deformities, but why are you laughing? Ashtavakra replied, I came to this court thinking that I am walking into an assembly of philosophers and spiritually evolved people. But when I saw the laughter, I found that people here are mere cobblers, shoemakers, whose eye is all on the skin and who are incapable of seeing the beauty inside. Therefore, I could not help but laugh. The king, as well as all the philosophers, were stunned into silence by these supreme words of wisdom. This book is a book which we need to read slowly. We need to marinate in it. Reading and understanding Ashtavakra Gita is equal to the deepest meditation possible without closing our eyes and watching our breath. Friends, I will stop here, and every week we will take a few of the stanzas from Ashtavakra Gita. Sometimes because it is pure Gnan, pure knowledge, it does become a little heavy, but I will try to make it lighter so that we can focus on the truth, a scripture which has no comparable scripture in this whole world. It is simple, it is small. Each and every stanza is capable of taking us to the ultimate state.